In April 2005, 3 former PayPal employees launched a video-sharing website. The site was called YouTube. It originally started as a video dating site with the slogan, "Tune in, hook up," designed to be like the video version of Hot or Not. The dating site idea didn't work. Even when they tried to pay women $20 to put videos on the platform, the video dating format wasn't generating the engagement they needed. The technology worked. Users could upload and watch video, which was technically novel and genuinely useful in 2005. The specific application, dating, wasn't the application users wanted to use it for. Users were uploading other things. Clips from television shows, home videos, things that had happened and that people wanted to share with people who hadn't been there. The dating framing was the founder's hypothesis. The user behavior was evidence. The evidence pointed in a direction the hypothesis hadn't anticipated. The founders let go of the original idea. YouTube relaunched as a general video sharing platform. Google acquired it in October 2006 for $1.65 billion, 18 months after the original launch. Confinity launched in 1998 to beam money between Palm Pilot devices. Niche and pointless, but when they added email payments, eBay sellers grabbed onto it. Suddenly, Confinity was competing with XCOM, Elon Musk's company. The two merged and became PayPal, which went public and was acquired by eBay for $1.5 billion. The point let people rally around causes if enough others joined. It failed. Founder Andrew Mason tested a new angle: group discounts on pizza. That caught fire. Andrew Mason had built Groupon, which was at one point the fastest-growing company in history. The pattern across YouTube, PayPal, and Groupon is identical. The original idea didn't find its users, but the technology or the capability built to execute the original idea had properties that a different application valued. The founders let go of the original idea and followed the evidence from actual user behavior. The decision to let go of the original idea is not as straightforward as the retrospective narrative makes it sound. The original idea is not just a business hypothesis. It is the thing the founders told investors they were building. It is the thing the team was recruited to build. It is the thing the founders told themselves during the months or years of work that preceded the evidence that the idea wasn't working, that they were building. Letting go of the original idea requires simultaneously letting go of the story that made the investment of time and money rational, the story that made the team's decision to join rational, and the self-narrative that the founders had built around being the people who were building this specific thing. These are not cognitive adjustments. They are personal losses, even when the adjustment is objectively correct. The YouTube founders, letting go of the video dating concept, were not simply making a strategic pivot. They were deciding that the thing they had committed to publicly and privately was not the thing they were going to pursue. And then they had to communicate that to investors who had funded the dating concept, to users who had joined a dating platform, and to each other as the people who had developed the original hypothesis. The Confinity founders, letting go of the Palm Pilot beaming concept, had built significant technical infrastructure around a specific use case that was turning out to be far smaller than the use case that was emerging organically from eBay sellers using the email payment feature. Letting go of the Palm Pilot concept meant letting go of the customer proposition, the market positioning, and the technical roadmap that had organized the company's work. Have you ever been part of a team that had committed publicly to a specific direction and discovered that a different application was working, and watched the organization struggle to let go of the original commitment even as the evidence mounted? Leave a comment. The organizational behavior research on commitment escalation is directly relevant to why letting go of original ideas is so difficult. Leon Festinger's work on cognitive dissonance, the discomfort produced by holding contradictory beliefs simultaneously, explains the specific psychological resistance If I have committed significant resources to idea A and the evidence says idea B is working, I experience the discomfort of the contradiction between I committed to idea A because I believed in it, and the evidence says idea A is not working. The most common resolution of this discomfort is not to change the commitment. It is to reinterpret the evidence, to explain why the evidence showing idea A isn't working doesn't actually mean what it appears to mean, or why the evidence showing idea B is working is misleading or temporary or insufficiently representative. This is the specific pattern that the postmortems of failed companies most consistently identify. The evidence that the original direction was wrong arrived early, was explained away, and accumulated past the point of organizational capacity to change direction by the time it was accepted as valid. The YouTube founders did not fall into this pattern. The PayPal founders did not fall into this pattern. What distinguished them is specific and worth examining. They were evaluating their commitment to the original idea against user behavior data, rather than against their own assessment of the idea's merit. User behavior is harder to explain away than market analysis or competitive positioning, because user behavior is not an interpretation of reality. It is a direct measurement of what users are actually doing. When users were uploading music videos and home movies rather than dating profiles, the evidence was not, "This market might be smaller than we thought." The evidence was, users are doing a specific thing that is different from what we designed the product for. That evidence was less interpretable as confirming the original hypothesis. If the specific distinction, user behavior as direct evidence versus market analysis as interpretation, and why the first is harder to rationalize away, is what makes this channel worth your time, the like is the direct signal. The employees who helped build these pivots experience the transition differently depending on their specific role in the original hypothesis. The engineers who had built the video upload and playback infrastructure at YouTube were not invested in the dating hypothesis. They were invested in the capability, and the capability turned out to be exactly what the general video sharing application required. The pivot, from their perspective, was not a loss. It was a shift in the application of something they had already built. The people who had been recruited specifically to build the dating product, the designers of the dating user interface, the customer experience team for the dating format, the marketing people who had been positioning the product, experienced the pivot as a more direct discontinuity. The specific application their work had been oriented around was not the application the product was going to pursue. These people are present in every successful pivot story and are almost never discussed in the retrospective narrative, because the retrospective narrative is built around the success of the capability, not around the specific losses experienced by the people whose work was most directly tied to the original hypothesis. The practical lesson from the companies that successfully let go of their original ideas is about the relationship between commitment and evidence. Commitment is necessary for execution. Without the willingness to sustain effort through periods of difficulty, no product gets built well enough to generate real user behavior data. But commitment, sustained past the point at which the evidence from user behavior conflicts with the original hypothesis, becomes the specific thing that prevents the organization from learning what the user behavior is revealing. The organizations that successfully pivot are the ones that maintain commitment at the capability level while remaining flexible at the application level. They are committed to building excellent video infrastructure, not to the specific application they originally designed the infrastructure for. They are committed to solving the coordination problem of distributed teams, not to the specific format, game, communication tool through which they initially tried to solve it. The capability is the thing worth being committed to. The application is the thing worth being flexible about. Distinguishing between them, identifying what is the core capability and what is the specific application, is the analytical move that makes the pivot possible without requiring the abandonment of everything the organization has built. YouTube's core capability was high-quality video upload, storage, and playback at consumer scale. The dating application was one hypothesis about what to do with that capability. The general video sharing application was the hypothesis that user behavior confirmed. The capability survived the hypothesis change and became more valuable in the context of the confirmed hypothesis than it would have been in the context of the original one. The practical thing, for any product or initiative that is not finding the response it was designed to generate, the question is not, why isn't the original idea working? It is, what is the capability we have built? What are users actually doing with it? And what application does their actual behavior suggest the capability is best suited for? That question is not comfortable for the people who built the original hypothesis. It is the question that distinguishes the organization, that learns from its failure from the organization, that escalates commitment to the hypothesis until the failure is irrecoverable. This content was developed with the support of artificial intelligence tools and underwent human review, editorial curation, and approval before publication. The analysis presented here is strictly educational and philosophical in nature, grounded in behavioral psychology and classical Stoicism.